three deep zone, any zone. This is how it gets presented. If they run a boot pass, which means the backs divide and the quarterback comes this way, you play boot rule. All right? Whoever has the flat takes the guy in the flat. Takes him. So this guy starts to drop. He reads boot. He's going to go take that guy. The corner's going to squeeze this guy. If he runs an out route, he's got to squeeze him off. Both hook players, robot, what I call robot, which means roll and run and find the tight end. The front side hook guy, stay ahead of him. The backside hook guy, stay behind him. In other words, if we're playing like an over defense, as soon as these guys do this and read boot, this guy is just going to turn and run to the spot where he knows the tight end is going to be, and this guy is going to come out and try to stay behind this guy, and Mike's going to try to get ahead of him. You can't drop. You just roll and run and cover the guy. The strong safety plays here, plays under this guy squeezes him. It doesn't make any difference what the coverage is. Every time it's a play pass, we totally match the pattern. So you don't get nickel-dime to death with that stuff. And every coverage, it's the same way. If we're playing cover 2, who's the flat defender weak? 5 under, 2 deep. It's a corner. So what's the corner do? Take the guy coming in the flat. The two hook players now are who? The Will and the Mike. What do you guys do? Robot the Y shallow. Now, just taking cover 3 a step further for the NCAA pass that everybody runs, that's flow pass. So we play flow pass rule. Flow pass rule for the linebackers is to flood. The Will has first crosser or number 4. Mike's looking to match number 3 or robot Y shallow. The Sam is going to number 2 and the safety is going to push to 1 through the curl. That's how we would play flow pass. Now, what does robot mean? If this guy stays front side and does this guy goes out in the flat and he does this, he's on this guy, safety's on that guy, he's got that guy. Will's got first crosser and 4. They run Y shallow, X dig that everybody runs. What's Will got? First crosser, 4. What's the first crosser? He takes that guy. Mike does what? You got 3, but robot Y shallow. So what is going to happen to you now? You're going to get high load in the middle of the field, right? The X or the Z is going to run a dig. The other guy's going to run a post. You got a 3-level vertical stretch in the middle of the field. So if you stay the same in pass coverage and play 2 levels, you got no chance if they can throw it and catch it. So let's say this guy runs the dig and this guy runs the post. He robots and gets as deep as he has to find the middle of the field. And when this guy goes across, the Sam hangs, takes the inside check down, he takes the outside check down. All right, so we match the pattern. What's this corner going to do? Squeezing man-to-man. He doesn't have 2 in the seam, right? What's this corner doing? Squeezing man-to-man until he gets an over route, both of them. So that's you just teach the principles of the coverage and play it and do it over and over and over and over. And that's how we play action passes. And what I say, guys, I say over and over and over. I don't say, what do you do on flow pass, Mike? I expect our Mike to say, match the 3 and robot the Y shallow. That's what I don't want to hear any other bullshit that you said on the corner in Detroit. Nothing. Match the 3 and robot the Y shallow. Everything else is useless information. Just teach those principles. What do I do on the boot? Weak side hook player. Robot and find the Y and keep them cut off. That's it. If I'm the weak side flat defender, what do I do on the boot? Take the guy in flat. Simple. I don't want to hear anything else. Because I say it the same every time, and I expect them to say it back to me like I say it to them, or we say it to them, whoever's coaching them. All right? And that's 3 deep zone no matter how it goes. All right, now, the best pass coverage to defend in the middle of the field, in my opinion, and I think as a high school coach, if you could play it and you can play it off, you can play it bail or whatever. And again, it's a middle of the field coverage, and that's what I'm talking about. Then I'm going to talk about split safety coverages here in a minute. But with two backs in the backfield, I think you should play an 8-man front. You got to stop the run. You got to get more guys up there than they can block. Make the Z be a blocker. If they got two tight ends in there, put one more in. If they only got one skill guy in the game, take a defensive back out. That's what we do. All right, now, cover one is a man-to-man middle of the field coverage with a rat in the hole. Never put your linebackers in a stress position. The corners have the wide receivers, and the simplest way to do it is just play matchup, and the corners have them slot, they go over with them, it doesn't make any difference. You don't have to play it that way. So basically, whether you play bump and run, and I can talk to you about that, bail off these guys or play them off, they got those guys man-to-man. With the same, in cover one, is it a middle of the field coverage? So whether the corner is playing press, bump and run, or off, what horizontal leverage position should he have? Exactly the same as 3 deep zone. Right? Safety's in the same spot. So now if I'm going to play bump and run on this guy and he's split where I have this guy split, is he outside a divider? He's outside a divider on that thing. The divider's 1 yard top of the number. So that guy, does he have grass to run a 9? It's 5 yards from the boundary the way I drew him up there. No. All right. So I'm going to play that guy what technique? Slightly inside, and deny is inside. Because he's too far away from the safety. If I let him inside release, the ball's getting there before the safety. What if he lined it up in here? How would I play him? Outside technique, right? What has he done? Bought grass to run a 9, got a lot of horizontal area to fade away from me, and all that type of thing. So I'm going to play him outside technique. If he releases inside, he's going to run into the linebackers and the middle of the field safety. Now, if the guy is on the divider, I tell the guy to play him full press. Just get head up on him and play him and mirror him. But if you were off, you would use the same principles, correct? Same horizontal principles. If you bailed off the guy, lined up in bump and run, and ran off of him on the snap, you would play the same principles. All right, now, so this part of the coverage is technique. All right, let's just say we're playing with these guys right here, Sam, Mike, and Will. You can play this in a 30. It doesn't make any difference. You can play it in a 4-3. All right, this guy has this guy. We play with sky support. You can play it with backer 2. All right, these 3 guys have these 2 guys, and they cut the tight end if he goes across. So the safety can still play sky support. All right, so let's just say they run the basic pattern here that we've had up. I'm going to knock that guy out of here before. All right, he's got him. He's got him. This guy's got this guy, right? He's got him. He's got him. He's in the hole. He's in the middle. Now, do you think you can defend the middle of the field with that coverage? You always have a rat in the hole that can cut anybody, and the backers overplay the backs to the outside until they get to the seam. They don't overrun the seam, because then if the guy runs in the seam, they can't play him. And he's wide enough away from the safety that the safety can't do what? Make the play for him if the guy runs down the seam. So this is a really good coverage. Now, if the tight end goes across and the backs stay divided, let me just give you the only rules for the linebackers are this. You can play this in under, over, 4-3. It doesn't make any difference. Is this guy's always got the second back. You never play in and out. In other words, if they run this pattern right here, he's got him, he's got him. Who's the free guy now? He's right there. This guy's got him. All right, if they go both back strong, who's the free guy? Let's say they're in the eye and they do this. Who's the free guy? Right? He's always got the second back. We would take these guys in the I formation as they came out. He would take this guy and he would take that guy. If they run the wash shallow, who cuts that guy? Who's the free guy? Will takes this guy. The safety now robots the hole for the dig on flow pass. Because the safety's got the tight end on everything except what? Y, shallow. Because then he can play sky support and you can be in an 8-man front. Now, playing close coverage of any kind, there's some principles that I think you have to have with your players that really should on this field go about like that, okay? All right, now, if there's a receiver here and he releases out here, what position vertically would I want to stay on that guy? Got no help out here, right? I want to stay high and inside on the guy and keep him cut off. If a guy releases in here, where do I want to stay? Low and outside. Why? A lot of people play this coverage and don't use the middle of the field safety with the technique of their outside people. In other words, you stand up again. If I'm the left corner, the ball's in there, I'm here like this, we offhand jam, you release, and he goes outside. I'm going to knock him off, and then we're going to come up the field, and I'm going to stay high, shoulder, keep him cut off. Okay? If he disappears behind me, I'm always going to roll over. Okay? If he releases inside, and if I've lined up properly on him because of my dividers, I ought to always have him where I want him when he comes off the jam. I want to be low and outside, like this. Now, if he runs a dig, I play him this way. Okay, if he runs a 7, I jump back up on him because he's got to run into him and because I've got the horizontal position on him. Now, if I'm playing off, you use the same principles. If you're playing bail, you use the same principles. Okay, but that's how you use the middle of the field safety. Now, anytime that this receiver gets close enough to run across the field, what we tell our corners is you just yell, rat, 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 which means that if that guy takes off and hauls ass across the field, like the Z going underneath at 5 yards, then the free linebacker cuts him and takes him. Knocks the shit out of him. That's what we try to do. We don't like to get the linebackers taking the receivers through there, so we try to knock the dog out of them. We'll leave the corner chase them, but we try to knock the dog out of them. And the way to do it, the best way to do it, is if this guy was his X running across the field and I was Pepper Johnson right here in the middle free and I heard rat, 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 I would hit the guy from down to up and push him into the corner because the corner will probably be higher on him. All right, now he runs across, I'm going to knock the hell out of him up the field because he'll push him back into the what? Cover guy. And the cover guy chasing the guy going across the field always wants to get ass down on him, like this. This is how you chase a guy across the field, right like this. Not like this, which is what I always used to teach. Because now, and I don't know if you get it, but this guy starts across the field and he's running his ass off and you're running your ass off and he stops and whips back on you, you'll never, ever defend him. And you're probably not going to beat him across the field anyway. But if you're in this position on him, run. And I'm running like a son of a gun and he whips back on me, you at least take that away. Now, if you get cut, then you can come off the guy if the linebackers will cut him. All right, but this is a great run defense, and this is a close coverage pass defense. We played this every snap. This is Jerry Glanville, every snap. One rat bone, every snap. Saw more 9s in 1 year of football than I saw in the previous 15. Because that's what they're going to try to beat you with on the outside. You don't have to play bump and run, though. You don't have to play bump and run. But this cover 1 is a real good coverage. It's a simple coverage to teach. Teach the strong safety. If I'm the strong safety and this guy's the tight end, we line them up 3 by 5, all right, just like we would in cover 3. If that guy blocks, we're run supporting. All right, because, and if he blocks down, I don't have him across anyway, right? If he releases up the field, I want the safety to run to what position on him? Is he inside the corner's divider? So I would be outside and what? Low. So I want to cover the tight end like this. I don't want to run up here and let the guy do what? push off of you. So as he, back up a little bit so we don't run in the podium. If I was like this right here and he released up the field and he ran that little hook, I would get in this position on him right here, low shoulder, and play him like this or whatever. If he runs down the middle of the field, what's going to happen? Who's there? Safety. So why would you play him high? You can't deny the throw if you're playing a guy high in cover one. Okay, does anybody have any questions about that? It's pretty simple. Okay. All right, now, split safety coverages. All right, hold up a minute. All right, I got the same kind of diagram for split safety coverages. All right, like right here, that's the two deep places on the field, all right, where you don't want people to be. You don't want them to be in here, and you don't want them to be out there when you're playing too deep. All right, now, what's the principle if we play zone and we say the first thing we're going to do is drop and reroute? That's our philosophy of zone, right? Second thing is pattern match. Third thing is break on the ball. The seam of the field always stays the same. So where is the seam of the field? I'm telling you, I got... Can you hear me? No. The seam of the field always stays the same, 14 to 17 yards from the boundary. Okay? So now, if I'm going to reroute the seam now in cover 3 deep zone, you never let a guy run in the seam. In cover 2 deep zone, you always reroute the guy to the seam 10 yards deep when he gets there. You've heard people talk about we always match and run with people down the field. If you match and run with people down the field, you know, you're going to always struggle on the short stuff. Always struggle on the short stuff. I mean, the number one play in ball, I don't care how they get there, and they don't have to be in a one-back set for them to do it, is for them to run a seam on this side. This guy runs a middle read if it's too deep. This guy runs across, and they throw the ball and catch it and run off the reroute. If you're running with the guy down the middle, then you've got to full match everybody else, or you got no defense. Do you know what I'm saying by full match? That means somebody's got to come across with the guy coming across. So if we're playing zone, we tried to play zone. Now, what's the reroute principle now? I want to reroute the guy to the seam. In other words, the way I have that drawn there, that guy would have been rerouted to the seam, which in turn does what for the safety? Whose divider is your hash mark, right? Which this is not it on this diagram. This is a college field. So if I was dropping here, and let's say this is 10 yards deep, I would body position and reroute that guy and be on top of him at 10 yards, and there is no way that I would let him enter any of this part of the field. And the way we teach it is I put a cone 20 yards deep down in the middle of the field. I tell a guy, I said, you get your asshole on a string to that cone, and you don't ever change it. And then you body position the guy all the way like this. In other words, I'm defending the best I can with my body to keep this man from running into that cone. And I'm going to stay. And the closer he lines up to the seam, the further I can line up inside of him. Right? Because he's put himself in the seam. So all I have to do now is do what? Make sure he doesn't get back underneath me. Now, why is it important? Again, more important in this than in the other one, to be on top of the guy at 10 yards. The faster that guy gets on top of me, he's on top of me right now, and he runs the middle read, the more he does what? Splits the safeties. 2 deep coverage. Correct? If I can stay on top of them and reroute them at 10 yards in this position right here, and we can jam in college and you can too, so you can knock the shit out of them. All right, now, you've created a what for the safety on your side? He's got leverage on this guy because his divider is the beginning of the seam. So he never has to defend a guy from outside in unless the reroute guy screws it up. So we do not run with people down the field. If we're going to run with people down the field, then we get into the next part of our coverage deal, which is play, match, man. Not man-to-man like I just showed you, match man. If I'm going to run with this guy, and what we tell our guys in that, if we want to play what I call two-cut, and you want to change the principle on them, and you want to run with everybody down the field, we tell the guys, you line up on your guys. If your guy runs an inside pattern or runs vertical, you run with him. If he runs to the flat, you cut the one. That's it. Now you got everything matched. This pattern that I had right here, if we had corner is playing just like cover 2, this corner is playing like cover 2. I'll show you that in a minute. You got Mike, Will, this doesn't work out too good, and Sam. What's Sam do? Is this guy running vertical or inside? What would he do? Run with him. What's that guy doing? Vertical inside, what would he do? Take him. This guy does this, what would the Mike do? That's not vertical or inside, right? He'd run and cut the one. In the corner and jam and play the flat. If you throw him the ball, you play him. If you want to match him, that's as simple as it gets. In cover 2. I just call it cut. Play cut on him. Sometimes when they run a bunch pass, instead of playing zone, we'll say we'll cut the bunch. So if you got 3 guys in a cluster, got them 1, 2, 3. If 3 goes to the flat, what do I do as the inside hook guy? Did my guy go inside or up the field? No. So what I do, cut the one. They run this pattern right here. They put them in a cluster. This is the ball. This guy goes in, he goes out, and he does that. How would we defend that? This guy is inside or up the field, right? So he does that. This guy right here, this guy goes to the flat. What's he do? Cuts the one. This guy right here is playing the flat. You're basically trapping the flat in 2 deep. What you take, you can nail a bunch, you can do a lot of things. But that's the 2 deep principle. What's that? We would predetermine how we're going to. Just in my hillbilly way of thinking, I think cover 2 stinks against bunch passes because you get high load in the flat or you get high load in the hook, right? And in other words, if they run this pass and you're playing cover 2, this guy's got to play soft because that's the one that he's got to worry about. Well, when they're bunched, he's got to play so deep to take that away, and the safety's got to roll over the top of it. They throw the ball in the flat, you got nothing. What we would play a team, I would say that all 3-man bunches in cover 2 we're going to nail this week. Nail means you play quarter-quarter principle. And nail basically is, you got 3 guys there. It's a 3-man bunch, right? Call nail. Nail means I got the first out short, first in short, first up outside, first up inside. It's like a box. Now, if we're playing zone on that, which means we're only matching the pattern with what? Zone with zone distribution, zone integrity. If we call box, then we take a man. Once we get them and buy them, we take a man. Why do we need 2 calls? It's the same pattern match because it's relative to what they're playing on this side. If they're playing zone on this side and this guy runs across the field, you don't need to carry him back. You just slide back with him zone-wise. If these guys are playing man over here, then you might box that bunch because now when this guy does this, you've got to take him back because those guys are playing man-to-man or some kind of match coverage on that side. Yeah. Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions? Now, basically, one thing I did want to talk to you about is the jam of cover 2, how a corner jams in cover 2. We always tell a corner in cover 2, you really want to be strong with your outside hand. I also tell the corners that if you move your inside foot first, you'll decrease your chances of crossing over by about 60%. In other words, I'm going to play right corner now. The ball's in there. If I'm here like this, if the first thing I move is this foot right here, I've created a situation where I've done what with my feet? Got my feet outside my shoulders. And as soon as you get your feet outside your shoulders in any athletic event, you have to do what? Take another step to be able to move. turn, which I don't like because you can't see. So if he goes outside, I'm only going to try to hit him with this hand because I want to turn this way. And our guys, a lot of them, they'll be hitting the guy and be like this. They're already turned, so they got the guy cut off when they lose him. Inside, you can hit him with both. All right, now, a lot of people in cover 2, when the guy inside releases, they backpedal the guy out like this. We always tell our guys to play a sail technique, turn it top side like this and come out like this. Why? Because I want to defend what? The 7 back to the flat. If I'm like this, I have to play deeper to play the 7 because my back's to it. I can see the ball and I run into the 7 route this way and don't have to play as deep to split the zone, and I got a better chance to get to the ball in the flat.
How are you going to turn it back to the flat?
Just sit down and open. I'm like this. You can't get outflanked. The ball's thrown in the flat. I'm going to plant on this foot, open the hips and turn, get your knee over the toe, and accelerate right there. That's how we would try to play it in cover 2. But I think the principle of the outside hand jam is real important in cover 2. And I think when you play split safety coverages, I'm going to talk to you about just one more second. I know you guys were trying to kick me out of here, but I don't have any more sheets. See, if we had a lot of success playing the run and shoot. We held Houston to less points than anybody in the league for the last 2 or 3 years that they were in the run and shoot, and beat them in the Astrodome. But it doesn't make any difference that it's a run and shoot. It's just a 2-by-2. This is my favorite formation to play split safety coverages against. We will call a lot of defenses like under, double 2-3, deuce. Deuce means if it's 1-back set, 2-by-2, we're going to play cover 2. I don't care if it's slot, pro, whatever it is. So we actually call what we're going to play if there's 2 backs in the backfield, what we're going to play if it's a 1-back set. You cannot adjust the coverages out on back motion. It's got to be lined up. All right, but anyway, what we would do here is we would play principles of coverages on a side. So we play cover 2. We just discussed that, right? Probably playing nickel here, but this guy's a Sam linebacker, and I call him a star. Okay, so we play 2. Mike's relating to 3. Will's over here. Corner's playing his deal. All right, now the next thing that we would play is cover 8, which is quarter-quarter, which means now this corner is going to come off, safety's going to go here, and now when we play quarter-quarter, what are we playing? You got the first out, short, first in, short, first up inside, first up outside. Can do it from the same look, run the corner off. All right, now, if this guy runs to the flat, what can this guy do? Double that guy. If this guy runs vertical, he has to play him inside out. Play him inside out. You're going to end up taking him.